So, if you are in this video, you're probably a newcomer coming to Vancouver, Canada, and you're trying to find housing. And you probably heard lots of awful things about Vancouver housing, which are totally true, yes. So, yes, we are going through a very bad crisis in the housing situation in Vancouver, and coming to a new place can be very scary, especially if you are single and alone like me, right? I don't actually have family here. I've only made some friends along the way, but most of the decisions and the tough decisions I made by myself. And it was so tough for me to make a decision on housing because what websites are trustworthy? Should I go for Facebook Marketplace and book directly with a person that I've never met and book a place I've never seen and there is no guarantee? What is the cheapest way to get housing? What is the safest way to get housing? And especially, what are the locations I could think about and what locations I shouldn't think about? Because Vancouver is like a bundle of small cities all over, and when you've never been here like I haven't, probably very lost about how far things are and how picking a different town that's near Vancouver is going to affect your everyday life, because you've never been here. You've never got any trains or buses, so you really don't know how that works. So I'm here to maybe clarify and help you guys out, doing what nobody did for me, right? Explaining all of the things that I wish someone had told me before I came here. And hopefully that can be helpful to you guys. And yeah, let's start. Well, starting with the options you have when you come here, you have some pricier options and you have some cheaper options. The cheaper options for you to find a place would be definitely Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. There's also another place I'm not sure about, I think it's Kick, something like that. I don't remember the name. But yeah, mostly Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist would be the places you find the cheapest housing, because basically you are booking and dealing directly with the person, with a landlord, and that can be cheaper for you, right? And more convenient, but not very safe, right? So it is cheaper because it is less safe. So as a newcomer, if you don't have someone here that can go to the location to visit, or if the person you're talking to is not willing to give you, make a video of the place and show you the place and everything, that can be maybe not a good option in my opinion. I didn't want to go to Facebook and Craigslist at the first moment because I didn't have anyone here. What if they weren't what they said they were? I couldn't do anything. I was just so scared about coming to a new place where I have nobody, no place to go, and just being out in the street and because someone had taken advantage of me. So that can be pretty scary, but there are ways you can go around it, right? I mean, you can always try to find people who are used to booking to students, and these people, they usually book a room. They usually rent a room or a one bed, one bath, and they're used to having students, so they probably will know a little bit of how that works. And you will try to look out for certain things, like if they're gonna give you a contract to look at, that's very important. If they are very clear about who they are, if they have a profile picture, if they are willing to give you a tour on video or whatever to you and stuff like that. So you want to make it as clear and as safe as possible for you. Have yourself guarantees, have yourself signatures to make sure that you're not going to be out on the street with full of suitcases and bags and the cold. And yeah, not to scare you out, but like think this through, okay? Because sometimes cheap can cost more. You know what I mean? So yeah, so those would be the cheapest options, but as I said, not the safest. This is Amanda coming from the future because I realized that I forgot very important information. I'm gonna talk about now one more thing about booking through Marketplace and booking directly with a landlord that I had forgotten to tell you about. Well, here in Vancouver, usually the housing market is very, very, very heated. So they want someone for the next month. Usually they won't want to wait for 2 months or 3 months to have you in their house. So that's why that sometimes booking with Facebook Marketplace, it can be a little stressful because you have to find housing usually on the month prior to you coming to the country. So what happens is that you might not find as many options as if you had started before. You might not find as many options, you might not find as many good prices, and you also have very short time to doing a very important decision. So this is also another con about using Facebook or Craigslist or booking directly with the landlord, because usually you have to do it in a very short time. You have to do it a month prior to you coming to the city. So this is one of the reasons why I ended up choosing Homestay through a website, because for this one you actually can book far ahead before you coming. So then I just took that item off my list of tasks and I just booked way before, so that was way better for me. So think about that when you are making this decision as well. I will come back more times with more information later. And now I want to give you I want to make a remark here. Actually, when you say cheaper, other websites like Airbnb and those websites that make the intermediation between you and the landlord, and you think that's gonna be more expensive because of the fees. But you have to remember that when you're doing a one-on-one deal with a landlord, they will probably ask you for a deposit. And that deposit will be refundable if you leave the place and if you didn't like break any things in their apartment and everything. But like you will have to give about 50%, and that's the in-law value. Okay, if someone charges you more than that, that's something you have to look out for. Okay, they are breaking the law. Okay, so they will charge you 50%, and then when you come in the apartment or the place you're going, you're gonna have to pay the full price. So it's the 50% plus the full price when you come in. So basically it's not that cheap if you think about it, So, and then you might think, oh, is it not like that with other websites? No, not necessarily. I'm going to explain right now. So what are the other options you have for housing besides these ones I've talked about? You also have Airbnb, which is the most popular one, and you have homestays, or like you have many other websites like Van City, something like that, VanMates. They have many different websites for that purpose. And you also can do it through a company. So there are some people here that will be like your realtor or your real estate agent. They will look for places for you, show you options, go to that place and show you around, and it's way safer. But they also charge you for a commission. So I don't know how expensive it is, but from the people that I've talked to, they're usually more expensive, way more expensive, because they are also providing a service along with it, okay? But it is a good option if you have a lot of money available and you really want to be safe that you're gonna go to a good place and you don't want any bad surprises when you arrive. Maybe look for these intermediaries. But now getting back to Airbnb and homestays. Well, when you think about Airbnb, a lot of people already know it, and it's very safe because they give you guarantees. And coming as a newcomer, you won't be able, like I said, you won't be able to meet that person, right? Unless you have someone here to do that for you that you trust. So sometimes Airbnb can be a good option for a lot of people. But it's also very pricey. You have to remember that now there is a law there's a law like happening here in Vancouver because Airbnb was kind of making the housing situation way worse. So they started putting limits on Airbnbs. So that can make maybe your Airbnbs more expensive than normal here because of that law, because of those limitations they are putting up right now. So that can mean that besides the fee you're gonna pay for Airbnb, you will also face a price that's higher than average, right? But you will have guarantees. So think about that, okay? Think about what you think is the best, because Airbnb, I think the pros and cons would be that the cons would be that it would be more pricey. The pros would be that it's safer, right? But you also have other options that are safe. So let's talk about the other options. So what option I have chosen when I came here? I have chosen to stay in a homestay. And I'm going to talk about my experience. I said on the other video I was going to talk about my experience, and I'm going to do it right now. So why homestays are a good option? Well, first of all, you find websites that can give you a guarantee. So the website is gonna deal and give you some guarantees for you. So in case something happens, you can maybe contact the website, check the website you are booking through to see what guarantees they give you, what kind of support they give you if something happens, because some of them will actually give you support in case something comes up. They'll give you the refund of your money. They'll try to find you another place. So there are many different things that they can do for you that will make the whole option safer. The thing with the homestays is that sometimes they might be a little pricey, but put a pin in that. Let me talk about it. Okay, here, when you come here and you're gonna stay by yourself in a room, you're renting a room at a house or renting a house, which is really difficult because here renting a whole house for yourself, you have to be really rich, but maybe you are, right? So usually it's a room. They might give you furniture, or they might not give you furniture, or they might give you partially the furniture. They will give you some amenities, but many times they won't give you all of the amenities. So what I'm saying is sometimes you come and then besides the price of the rent, you also have to think about buying furniture, buying sheets, buying pillows, buying towels, buying fans, buying whatever you need that they don't give you. And sometimes they will give you like really, really little, and then you're gonna have to buy all of those things. And you're in a new place, so you probably won't know a lot about what places to go. what are the best prices. So yeah, you might end up paying a lot more for those things. With a homestay, the good part is that it's a house where people actually live in. So usually they will give you most part of everything you need. They will give you sheets, they'll give you pillows, they'll give you blankets, they'll give you towels. They will provide maybe meals or maybe a kitchen for you to cook at. It depends on the homestays and the rules on the homestays. And I know a lot of people might get like very nervous about being in another person's home, and maybe they're not nice to you, and maybe it's a stressful situation. Well, that's why you can look for the reviews for that place. So if you think about going to a homestay, that's my number one advice. And actually, not just for homestays, everywhere you go, just always prefer places, or even just go to places where they have positive reviews. Don't go in the dark. At least for now, that you're just arriving for the first time at a new place. Like, look for places where they have reviews, because then or at least you'll have some guarantee that these people are trustworthy, they're nice, someone went there and they had a good experience. And that's how because let me tell you, I have chosen a homestay. Homestays are a little bit pricier, like I said, but I have booked for 1 month just so I could get here and have time to find another place. And it was the best decision, okay? I will talk a little bit more about that further on, but just saying that I came to a place, I was welcomed by someone, I had someone to talk to me, so I could ask questions about how things work. Everything was so new, like the shower, the kitchen, appliances, everything, and they were so helpful. They were always like answer my questions and everything. I would ask about the bus, I would ask about the transportation. I would have someone there who was local that could help me out, and that is it's just a big plus for someone coming by yourself to a new place. So think about that, because sometimes the price, you will get extra things for the higher price, and then comes the other thing. You might actually find places that are not that expensive. You might find homestays for like 800 per month, or like 900 per month. Mine specifically was 900 per month, and I had a suite for myself. So I had my own bathroom, a very comfortable bed and bedroom, and a whole kitchen that I could use, and they even let me eat all their food, and I didn't have to ask for anything. So it's just amazing, the place I stayed there, and it was just 900. And you will probably find other places that won't have all of those things in Vancouver for 900. So think about that. And there is a plus. I didn't have to give a deposit. Yes, I had to pay part of the price in advance, but it's not a deposit, because a deposit you pay half, and then you come in and you pay the full price again. So it was not like that. I paid like 30% first ahead, and then when I came to the place, I just paid for the remaining price, the remaining value that I didn't pay yet. So I ended up saving so much money. I saved on food, I saved on so many things. I didn't have to worry about anything. All of the amenities were there. All of the things I needed were there. The only bad part was the transportation, but I will get there. That's why I'm not there anymore, but I will explain to it later. So those are the options you have, okay? I already gave you a pretty good overview of the options, and so you have now to just think, what are the pros and cons? For me, for my profile, what would be better? Safer, but pricier, or maybe not so safe but cheaper? That's on you. Okay, it has to be it has to be according to your needs, right? So now that I have talked about the prices and options of websites and all the options you can go through, I'm gonna talk about something very important, which is the locations here. What are the locations that are good transportation wise, or like amenities wise? Like, what are the places in here that are good for you to live in, and what places you shouldn't think about as a newcomer? Okay, because here you hear about Langley, Coquitlam, Surrey, Port Moody, North Vancouver, and you're like so lost. Where are these places? What does it mean? How do I get around from there? And should I go there? Like, it's a really good price. It's way cheaper than living in downtown, but I don't know if I live there, if I'm gonna have the chance to go around, right? I totally get it. That's why I asked ChatGPT to to make a list of all of the places, all of the surrounding areas of Vancouver where you can find cheaper housing, right? Because you probably already know by now that living in Vancouver is way more expensive. So that's why people many times live in the nearby towns, right? That basically are just part of Vancouver, because it's cheaper there, right? So the further away you get to the downtown, cheaper it gets. But then again, you're further from downtown. So let's start talking about Langley. Before talking about Langley, you should always, first thing when researching all of these places, I have to tell you, always avoid places that don't have access by SkyTrain, which here in Vancouver is the name for subway or metro. Okay, so whatever it is you're thinking about moving to, if you don't have a car, but even if you have a car, be careful. Avoid places that don't have access by SkyTrain, because these places will be probably the hardest to get around because you only have the bus. And the bus here, sometimes it's really good, but sometimes there are a few problems. Okay, I'm not gonna get into that, but just saying. So what are the places that have access to the SkyTrain, and how far they are from downtown? Let's start with Langley. Langley doesn't have access to the SkyTrain. It's pretty far. It's like after Surrey, and a lot of people say that it's really hard to get around there, really hard to get there. So I wouldn't recommend going to Langley if you are planning to live and study and work in Vancouver, okay? Coquitlam is doable because they have actually access to the SkyTrain. So they are fed by the Millennium Line. They have access to the Millennium Line, which is one of the lines of SkyTrain they have here. But I don't think it's accessible like throughout the whole Coquitlam. So if you choose Coquitlam, choose a place that it's near from the SkyTrain, because then you will be able to get around just fine. And they say it's a good location, very nice to live in. I've never been there, but anyways, that's an option, okay? And it's 45 to 60 minutes to get to downtown. I forgot to talk about Langley. Langley, to get to downtown, it's about 60 to 90 minutes to get to downtown Vancouver. So yeah, avoid that. And then there is the other option, which is Surrey, which is the place where I used to live. And I lived there for a month, and I'm going to talk about that. Yes, it has access to the SkyTrain. But the thing about Surrey is that it's not accessible by SkyTrain like throughout the whole city, first thing, like throughout the whole town. It goes until like the beginning of the town, but they have actually two stations in Surrey. They have like King George and they have Surrey Central, so that's good. But the thing is, to get to these stations might be kind of hard depending on where you are. Okay, Surrey, it's basically residential. They have shops, yes, they have stores and everything, but it's mostly residential. So the biggest problem about Surrey is that depending on where you live, you might not just be far from the SkyTrain, but far from everything else. Like where I used to live, it would be, I couldn't, like, on a walking distance, I couldn't get to like a place with lots of shops and like and like supermarkets and everything I would have to do, I would have to get the bus to get there, and my place was very far from the bus stop, so that was a problem, and that's the only reason why I left that place, because it was perfect. But that's the thing with Surrey. Okay, if you choose Surrey, choose a place that's near the SkyTrain or very near to the bus stop, and the bus stop is not very far from the SkyTrain. So research and think about that, and think about all the other intricacies about living in Surrey, because I mean, you might be close to downtown, you might be close to the SkyTrain, but I mean, is it okay for you to be away from supermarkets and anything you might need? You might be having to go walk a further distance, to get to those places. Think about that, and think about that when researching about the other places too. So yeah, I talked a lot. Now let's get back. So getting into the other places. So after Surrey, there's Port Moody. Yes, it is accessible by the Millennial Line, and the distance to downtown is like 25 kilometers, 45 to 60 minutes. So that's a good place. Again, research about the place and prefer places near to the SkyTrain. North Vancouver, I wouldn't go there. Yeah, it's really, really bad because it's like an island kind of thing. You have to cross the bridge, and there are like, I think, 2 bridges. I've never been there, but I know that people who come from there, there's always a situation, right? There's always traffic jams on those bridges. It's a lot of traffic on those bridges, and it's the only way you can get to Vancouver, unless you get the sea bus. If you want to get the sea bus every day, then that's an option for you. If you have a car, maybe that's an option for you. But if you don't want neither of those things, you don't have a car, and you don't want to get the sea bus every day, don't go to North Vancouver. Also, usually things are way more expensive there, so why would you go anyway? Unless you are working there or studying there, then maybe you would prefer living there, because then you would have to be going the other way, which is really bad too. So yeah, the other place would be Richmond. Very good option, guys. It's very, very near to downtown. It's about 14 kilometers. It is accessible by the Canada Line, which is a SkyTrain. In 25 to 35 minutes, you would be in downtown. And it's a very cute place, and you will find lots of things in there. So if you find a good place there, then it's an option. Burnaby, same way as Richmond, but Burnaby has actually access to 2 different lines, so Expo and Millennial Line. So it's a good option. In 15 to 30 minutes, you would be in downtown. New Westminster, I actually didn't know New Westminster was a different town. Is it? I thought it was just a neighborhood. Yeah, that happens a lot here in Vancouver. You never know. Yes, it is accessible by the Millennial. It's very good there. It's just like a neighborhood. It's really near. You can go there like either by bus or by SkyTrain, so it's a good option. Places you should avoid: West Vancouver, not accessible by SkyTrain. Delta, not accessible by SkyTrain and very far from downtown, 60 to 90 minutes. Weston, I don't know if I said right, not good either, not accessible by SkyTrain, 75 to 90 minutes to get to the downtown. And Maple Ridge, also not accessible by SkyTrain, 45 kilometers, 60 to 90 minutes to get to downtown. So yeah, Now you guys got a really good overview about the places you can go or you maybe shouldn't go, and if any of the places you're thinking about going is not on this list, make your research and go to ChatGPT, because basically that's everything it gave me. I'm just like making a video and reading it for you. So use ChatGPT. Yeah, it can help you out a lot. And so me coming from the future again, because I totally forgot something so important, and probably everyone that's watching this video is waiting for me to talk about that, about East Hastings, which is a street here that it's very famous for the bad reasons, because it's a street where a lot of drug addicts usually hang. So it's not a place that is very well, it's usually you don't really feel safe there. It's not really the safest place in Vancouver to be in, even though those people, they're usually not very dangerous. There's still some dangers in being in that environment, and the environment can be a little bit hostile to be at. I'm not gonna get into details. I have been into that place. I know how it looks like, and I really don't recommend you to be there. Not necessarily for the people, but because of the sanitary part of the environment. Because usually they use the drugs, and you might see some residue of drugs on the ground, and the place is not very clean, and they leave things around. It doesn't have a good smell, even though there are workers that come there daily to clean. It's always very messy and dirty, and you actually don't feel very safe in that place. There are a lot of people with some mental conditions as well that sometimes can be unpredictable. So I wouldn't really recommend a newcomer to be staying in a place like that. But here's the thing about East Hastings. East Hastings is like a huge avenue that crosses almost like the entire city. So you kind of wonder, every place on East Hastings is dangerous? No, not every place on East Hastings is dangerous. Actually, I live kind of near East Hastings, but in an area that it's not very dangerous. It's actually very nice and clean and very and safe to be at. And it's actually kind of convenient because those places are usually they have a little bit of a lower price, and they are near downtown because it's near East Hastings. So a lot of people might not want to live there. So usually you can find good prices. And if you choose a good location, it's a good location for you. It's a good choice for you. So what is the location that you don't want to to live at? Well, the main location I see people in those situations nowadays is the East Hastings near Main Street. So whenever you come close to that region, which is where Main Street and East Hastings get together, that's where biggest amount of people with addiction are gonna be hanging at. So if you think about moving near East Hastings, always keep in mind that every time you go near East Hastings and Main Street together, their intersection, you're going to encounter more and more of those difficult situations. So try to stay away from that area. And I would also not recommend Powell with East Hastings. I'm gonna be very honest with you guys. There is a lot of people say that the only bad part of Vancouver is East Hastings, but the thing is, the reality I'm seeing here is that this problem is getting a little bit growing, and I see that Maybe they used to be concentrated on East Hastings before, because that's the place where they have more programs that help those people, assistant homes and everything, assisted living and everything. But nowadays they're not really that much concentrated only in that area anymore. So right now they're spreading a little bit to Main Street and Powell with East Hastings. So be careful with that region, because every time you get close to those intersections, you're gonna see that it's gonna be more and more uncomfortable for you in that aspect. So yeah. Besides that, what I can say is read about your laws, about your rights. I'm gonna put the link to the tenants landlord law they have here. I don't remember the name, but I'll put the link to learn what the landlord should act like, right? And how you should act like, and what is expected of you about living here. And also another thing that I can tell you is be mindful of the people you're sharing your place with. Like, for me, it was better to book a homestay for a month, and then after coming here, looking for another place, because then it's easier. You're already here, you get to go to the place, visit the space, see how it looks, and it's way simpler. You actually might meet people that you can maybe rent together. I mean, I have a roommate that actually met at the college, and I'm renting a room, he's renting another room. So there are many options once you're already here. But when you're coming here, I would advise you to be like more careful, okay? But this is just what I did. Do what's best for you, okay? And every person has a different story, a different conditions, different needs and everything. So think about that. So this is it for today's video. I hope you liked it. And if you did, please leave some love here. Like, subscribe, give a comment, say what you think, say what you want to see next. I don't know, give me some feedback. And if you want to book an ESL lesson with me, there is a link to my pre-apply profile in the description, so you get to learn and improve your English skills with me. Yeah, I am a teacher. So yeah, I hope to see you guys again. I'll keep on bringing lots of tips about my life here in Vancouver. Everything I find out, I'm gonna bring it to you. So yeah, thank you so much. See you next time.